welcome to this session. Today I will be describing how we are taking our DITA implementation at Ciena to the next level using AEM Guides. Okay, so here is the agenda for today's session. First, I will list our team's drivers for implementing a CCMS, and then I will discuss each requirement in more detail. Before we get started, let me introduce you to Ciena.
Who are we without our experiences? Experiences move us, educate us, connect us to one another. Can technology be the catalyst of experience? Ciena believes that it can, that how we experience technology has everything to do with how we experience life. So we apply technology in the context of your world, working to activate your agenda as though it were our own. It stems from our human commitment, our belief in the power of choice. Because with Ciena people and technology behind your network, we all are at the heart of the world's most rewarding experiences that result in exceptional outcomes. It's who we are, it's where we've been, and it's where we're going. It's the passion we bring to every experience. Ciena. Experience. Outcomes.
Ciena is a networking systems, services, and software company. With over 7,200 specialists around the globe, we support more than 1,700 of the world's largest and most reliable networks. My name is Susanna Carlisi. I am the Lead Content Strategist and Tool Specialist for Ciena Global Product Documentation. I have over 25 years of experience in the technical communications field, and my current role includes leading the implementation of Adobe Experience Manager Guides. Next, we will look at some of the drivers for Adobe Experience Manager Guides, or AEM Guides. So our team was authoring in DITA for several years, around 3 years, before we adopted AEM Guides. During this time, it became apparent that we needed to take our implementation to the next level for several reasons. I will discuss each driver in more detail in the following slides, but will quickly summarize the drivers or requirements here. Primarily, we needed a way to optimize reuse and manage dependencies, track the large volume of modular content, and we needed a way to search our content. We also needed a way to streamline versions and releases and integrate release management into the translation workflow. We also wanted to keep our current data authoring and publishing tool, FrameMaker, but we wanted to centralize the publishing. We use FrameMaker settings files that define the publishing parameters and templates, which we also wanted to retain. Lastly, we wanted to leverage reports to track reuse, file errors, and version comments. Just a quick note about AEM Guides. AEM Guides is a full-featured end-to-end solution for your structured data content. With AEM Guides, you can author, manage, and publish your content from a single platform. It offers features such as web-based review, workflow, and translation management integration, just to name a few. I will be touching on just a few of the available features to highlight the high priority drivers for the Ciena implementation. However, AEM Guides offers an abundance of features that allow you to define and customize your solution to suit your organization's requirements. The highest priority drivers were optimizing reuse and dependencies, file management, and search. When we transitioned to DITA, the team was able to benefit from DITA's reuse mechanisms to quickly build deliverables for product variations and different content products, such as getting started and user guides. We primarily implement data map and topic level reuse, but we do also implement content references or conrefs to a lesser extent. We author in FrameMaker, and because we were storing our content on a system that was not data aware, dependencies were not automatically tracked and downloaded locally to the FrameMaker workspace. What this means is that authors needed to manually track and retrieve all the folders and files referenced in a data map in order to resolve all references, since the files for a specific publication are not stored in a single folder. This is especially true for teams who implemented data map reuse. What I'm showing here is a very simplistic example, but when there are dozens of maps and hundreds of features, it's not immediately apparent which features are included in each data map used to generate output. So how did AEM Guides resolve this issue? Since there is native integration with FrameMaker, you can select a data map in AEM Guides and then click on Open in FrameMaker. When the data map opens in FrameMaker, all references of the map, including other referenced maps, topics, and graphics, are downloaded to the local FrameMaker workspace automatically. Therefore, you don't need to manually track which files and folders are referenced in the data map. AEM Guides automatically keeps track of all dependencies. Moreover, the File Properties view in AEM lists all the maps or topics that file is referenced from. Here's an example of a topic used in multiple data maps and data files. And here is an example of a conref used in multiple topics. AEM Guides also allows you to move and rename files while retaining all references, versions, and baseline information. One use case where this has been particularly helpful for us is when we want to reuse content that was not initially planned for reuse. We can easily move a topic to the central location where we store reusable content while retaining all links that already exist to other files. Optimize file management. As I mentioned, AEM Guides includes native integration with Adobe FrameMaker. FrameMaker includes a built-in connector to AEM so that you can work with files stored in the repository using the repository manager view shown here. As well, as of FrameMaker 2019, preferences are available to allow seamless integration between AEM and FrameMaker. You can configure auto checkout options in FrameMaker to automatically check out files opened from the AEM web UI. We have the auto checkout option configured to check out a file that is opened from AEM using the Open in FrameMaker option. The file is then opened in FrameMaker for editing and can be checked back into AEM using the FrameMaker repository manager. Just a quick note, you do not have to use FrameMaker in your implementation. AEM Guides includes a full-featured data editor. So AEM Guides provides you with the flexibility to use your existing data editor or the XML editor in AEM Guides. Searching the repository is important, especially now that we are working with a large volume of topics. Search helps us to locate content for update or for reuse. AEM's robust search allows you to perform full text search across the repository and includes many filters, which are not all shown here. You can also use certain booleans in your search. One feature that has been really helpful is creating a dynamic search called a smart collection for checked out content. You configure the search parameters once and save the search to a smart collection that you can bookmark and access anytime. the search results of a smart collection update dynamically when you perform the search. Next, we will talk about managing versions and releases. We use baselines to create snapshots of data maps that will be published and translated. You access the Baselines tab from the Data Map console. The baseline includes information about included files, such as the version of each file, whether it's the latest, and also any labels you configured for the files included in the baseline. Using a label allows you to quickly identify the version of a file that is used or that will be used in a baseline. So this allows you to quickly identify which version of a file is used in a release amongst all the versions of the file. You can configure labels in bulk when you create the baseline, or you can configure labels on a file-by-file basis. We typically configure labels in bulk after taking a baseline for a release, but configure them on a file-by-file basis for up issues, as I will describe on the next slide. Note that a baseline can be created based on the snapshot at a particular time and date, or based on the file labels. So using baselines, versions, labels, branch, and merge, we are able to create up issues of release content without interfering with development for the next release. So for example, during development of the next release, we can revert a file to a previously released version, create a branch of that topic to make updates for an up issue, and then label that topic to identify that it's part of an up issue. At this point, we revert the file back to the latest development version. We repeat this process for all the topics that need to be modified for the up issue. Then we can create a new baseline based on the previously released baseline, but use labels to pick up files that were identified for the up issue. The baselines can be used for publishing. So you can publish any baseline content by selecting it in the Output Presets tab of the Data Map console. You don't have to use a baseline for publishing, but doing so allows you to publish any release of the selected data map easily. If a baseline is not indicated, the current version of the files is published. Now we are going to briefly discuss translation and specifically using baselines in the translation workflow. One of the standout features of AEM Guides is the powerful translation workflow. You can use a translation project to create and manage your translations. The files can be sent to a supported translation provider, that is one that provides an AEM integration, or to machine translation software. We have configured the plugin for our translation vendor into AEM Guides. We consider translation projects to be ongoing projects. That means that the initial source is fully translated and updates are made to the existing translation project as the content evolves. That is when content in the source language is added or changed with respect to the initial version. In other words, we do not send projects for full translation upon every release. Here, we plan to leverage the power of baselines again. You select the latest baseline in the Translation tab of the Data Map console, and then filter for out of sync or missing content. The system will then automatically display the topics that are out of date or that have been added since the last translation. Therefore, you only need to send those topics to the translation vendor. This saves time and money spent on translations. Support the current authoring and publishing workflows. As I mentioned in the slide on file management, AEM Guides includes native integration with Adobe FrameMaker. This is important to us since our team authors in FrameMaker, which is a tool that they are very familiar with. AEM Guides can also be configured to publish with FrameMaker Publishing Server, including the ability to publish any baseline data map. Here, we can take advantage of our already configured FrameMaker settings files that can be used to publish using our various branded templates. You can point to a settings file that you store on the AEM server directly using the settings file field, or you can point to a FrameMaker Publishing Server preset. Of course, you can also publish using the DITA Open Toolkit. AEM Guides includes various reports that you can use to monitor your content. On the next slides, I will give an overview of the reports we use at Ciena. The Content Reuse Report allows you to track your reuse and provide statistics for each topic. Average content reuse is shown as the total number of content reuse instances divided by the total topic count and is displayed as a percentage. The DITA map report provides a snapshot of the overall health of the files in the DITA map. It lists information such as the number of missing topics, topics with missing elements, and review status of each topic. Clicking on a file in the list also provides detailed information for that file, including information on any broken references. You can also open a selected file in the web editor or FrameMaker from this view. Version Comments is a custom tool that was created for Ciena and was made available to us as an installable package. We use this tool to create a report of versions, check-in comments, and labels. We use this report to list check-in comments for all files in a folder and its subfolders, avoiding the need to check the version history rail for each file individually. Also, we apply labels to the files in a baseline at release time. Therefore, we can generate and export this report to a spreadsheet and then filter on the label to obtain a list of all the files included in a baseline or release. Ciena Implementation Summary. So to summarize the Ciena implementation, we use FrameMaker to author and upload data content, and we use AEM Guides for superior component content management system functions. Okay, now it's time for a demo. So in the interest of time, I opened up several tabs from AEM Guides, and I will demo some of the features I described in my presentation. Okay, so in this routing and switching folder, I have many subfolders that correspond to the features for this product line. Now, we combine the various features into different data maps for our various output. So if I open one of these folders, I'll go to System Timing. These are all the data files that make up this feature, the submap for this feature. I can click one file and select Properties. And this will show all of the data maps that use this topic. So this is important because I know the impact that any changes I make will have on the various output data maps. Similarly, here I have a folder of conrefs, and I can click on a file here, select Properties, and I can see the data maps and files that reference this conref. I can also move files, so I will move this one file. For example, if I didn't think about reuse when I was authoring this topic and then realized I need to reuse it in another data map or output, I can move this file to the common area where I store all my common content. So I click on Move, click Next, and I will place this file in my common folder. Then you'll see this adjusted references screen, and this shows the references from and the references to the selected file. So I'll keep all of these enabled, and all of my links will be adjusted. So all the links to that file are preserved. Next, I'll demonstrate how we edit files. You can always edit using AEM Guides, the XML editor in AEM Guides, or your selected DITA editor. We edit in FrameMaker, so I'll go ahead and click Open in FrameMaker. And because I have auto checkout enabled, I see this prompt. So I'll click Yes. And then I can go ahead and edit my file. I'll just refresh this node. Because I haven't made any changes, I'll just go ahead and cancel the checkout. And I'll just show you the auto checkout options. If you click Edit, Preferences, CMS, Adobe Experience Manager, the auto checkout options appear here. Next, I will demonstrate smart collections. So I can create a smart collection by clicking on Filter, and I'll create a collection of checked out content. So click Status, Checked Out, and you'll see the checked out files appear on the right. And I can also narrow down the search to my checked out files. And if I had other files that were checked out by someone else, they would not appear here. So these are all of my checked out files, and I can save this as a smart collection. Give it a name. I can click on Public to make this collection available to other users. So here I've narrowed down the search to a specific folder. But if I want to make that search a little bit wider, I will go up to my EN folder, click Select, and you'll see now that the checked out files area updates to show more files checked out by other users. So I can always access my smart collection once it's been created by navigating to the collections area. And this is the smart collection I just created. And this collection will dynamically update as I check out and check in files. I have another collection here. It's not a smart collection, it's a static collection. And I've used this collection to group the DITA maps that I modify often. So these DITA maps are all in different folders. Adding them to a collection doesn't move the files, but it creates an area where you can access them quickly. Okay, so now I will discuss version and release management using baselines. So here I have a DITA map. If I click on the DITA map, the DITA map console opens and I can click on the baselines tab. And here you'll see that I already have a baseline for this data map that corresponds to a release 1 version of this data map. Now, after the release 1 version of this data map, I went ahead and modified a file and added a new label. You'll see here gs_1.1 for getting started guide, release 1.1. And you can see here the gs_1.0, which is the version of the file that was included in the release 1 data map. So to summarize, version 1.2 of this file was released with the release 1 version of the data map, and version 1.4 of this file is going to be released with release 1.1 of this data map. So I will go ahead and go back here. I will create another baseline for the release 1.1. So I will I'll give the baseline a name. And this time I will use labels to create the baseline. Now you will get this warning to indicate that if any of the files don't have the label that you selected, then the last persistent version of that topic will be included in the baseline for this data map. And here you can see the file that has the updated label. And looking at other labels, this indicates that these files were included in baselines for other data maps. So there's quite a bit of reuse going on here. I will save this data map. And I can also leverage the baseline in the translations. So if I move to the translation tab, I already translated release 1 of this data map, but now I will go ahead and pick up out of sync. So that's updated files since the last baseline, and missing copy, which would be new files since the last baseline, and use the baseline in my translation and click done. Okay. There. Okay, so now you can see that this one file, this is the file that I updated, is out of date. So it has changed since my last translation. So I will go ahead and send this one file to translation. And I will add it to my existing project, which is Getting Started French. So I'll click Start, and that one topic will be sent for translation. So this demonstrates that you don't have to send all of your topics for translation if you haven't updated all of them. You can just select the ones that have changed by leveraging baselines in your translation. So now I will talk about the publishing. So we support, AEM supports the current publishing workflows. And since we use FrameMaker, we also publish with FrameMaker. So if I click on the data map and go to, I'll show them an example of HTML5. We have FrameMaker Publishing Server configured here, and an STS file. So I can use my existing STS files that I created when I was publishing locally on my local machine using FrameMaker. I can still use those when publishing from FrameMaker Publishing Server. So I can go ahead and generate. Now I will go to the area on the AEM server where my published items get stored in the FM Data Outputs folder. I created HTML5, and here it is as a zip file. So I can download this. So I'll just give that a minute to complete. Show in folder. I can unzip this. And launch it. So here is my HTML5. If I had several STS files, I can toggle between the STS files that I need. The STS files include the formatting and the branding that I want to use in my output. And now I will show one of the reports that we use. So if you click on Tools and go to XML Documentation, you have several reports here. I will show the Content Reuse report. And I can navigate to a folder that corresponds to a product line to show the reuse for that product line. I will go to the area where I store process guides for our data authoring and generate the reuse report. So here I can see I have about 20% reuse, and you can scroll down the report to see the number of times each topic has been reused. So I hope you found this demo helpful, and thank you for being here.